Hare Krishna, dear devotees, and welcome back once again to our ongoing series on the glories of our beloved Sri Vrindavan Dham. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pashtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nivishesha Shunyavadi Pastacha Deshatane. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So we're continuing with our mini-series on Stimulation for Ecstatic Love, and this will be part 90. As we've mentioned a number of times, this series is based on Srila Prabhupada's chapter 26 of Nectar of Devotion with the same name, Stimulation for Ecstatic Love, which has a long list of items that stimulate such love. And we have covered many of those items in this series. But there's one item, much loved by all devotees, that we haven't yet discussed, and which we will speak about today, and that is Srimati Tulasi Devi. Srimati Tulasi Devi. I can see you're smiling. Srila Prabhupada refers to her in that chapter as Krishna's favorite plant. Krishna's favorite plant. And he writes therein, Lord Krishna is very fond of tulsi leaves and buds because tulsi buds are usually offered up to the lotus feet of Krishna. A devotee once prayed to the tulsi buds to give him some information about the lotus feet of the Lord. The devotee expected that the tulsi buds would know something about the glories of Lord Krishna's lotus feet. He furthermore glorifies her in chapter 11 of Nectar of Devotion under the subtitle, Serving Trees Such as Tulasi. Therein he writes, in the Skanda Purana, there's a statement about Tulsi as follows. Tulsi is auspicious in all respects. Simply by seeing, simply by touching, simply by remembering, simply by praying to, simply by bowing down before, simply by hearing about, or simply by sowing this tree, there is always auspiciousness. Anyone who comes in touch with the Tulsi tree in the above-mentioned ways lives eternally in the Vaikuntha world. Now, in her memoirs, my dear godsister Govindadasi recounted that in 1968, before Tulsi Maharani made her appearance in the West, Srila Prabhupada sometimes referred to her or talked about her. She recalled him saying that in India, everyone considers Tulsi plants sacred, and no one will cut or uproot them. Even non-Hindus, he said, will not destroy Tulsi to build a house on a spot where she's growing. They'll actually look for a place not inhabited by Tulsi. And later on, while serving as the temple president in ISKCON's temple in Honolulu, Hawaii, she, Govindadasi, acquired some Tulsi seeds from India. She got some Tulsi seeds from India and planted them in the temple garden in front of the temple. And when Srila Prabhupada came to Hawaii in 1971, he admired the Tulsi garden because the plants had grown far larger than anyone had expected. Some were nearly 7 feet tall with stalks 2 inches in diameter. But this had caused a sort of problem, she said, because the Tulsi branches were beginning to cover the actual entrance into the temple. And when she pointed this out to Srila Prabhupada and asked his permission to trim some of the branches, he became alarmed. And he exclaimed, "You cannot cut Tulsi. You cannot cut Tulsi. That is the greatest offense. You may never cut her, but you can tie back the branches obstructing the entrance." But even after tying back the branches, Tulsi kept growing, and the problem continued. And when she told Srila Prabhupada that people had to bend down when passing through the Tulsi archway on the way into the temple, he was delighted. He smiled, and his eyes sparkled as he said, "That's good. It's good they have to bow down to Tulsi before entering Krishna's temple." Then when Srila Prabhupada came for another visit to Hawaii, a year or two later, he carefully entered the same Tulsi archway by going through sideways, because the branches were so thick. He entered and turned sideways and went in to avoid brushing against her leaves and branches. And while walking along the walkway to the temple, which was lined with more Tulsi plants, he told his secretary, Shyamasundar Das, "Don't step on her shadow. Don't step on her shadow." And amazingly, I actually found a verse supporting Srila Prabhupada's statement. It's from the Garuda Purana Sharodhara section, 9.6. Tulasi vitapa chaya yatra sti bhava tapaha. Tatraiva maranan mukti sarvada dana durlabha. Very beautiful. Wherever there is the shade of Tulsi Devi's plant form, which removes the pain of material existence, there is always liberation from death. Such liberation is difficult to obtain simply by giving gifts. So, in these ways, Srila Prabhupada showed great respect for Tulsi. And that's true also in his books. In his books, Prabhupada calls attention to the exalted position of Tulsi Devi. For example, in a purport to Srimad Bhagavatam 3.16.21, he wrote, "Lakshmi is sometimes envious of the Tulsi leaves, which are placed at the lotus feet of the Lord, for they remain fixed there and do not move. Whereas Lakshmi Ji," he calls her Lakshmi Ji, "although stationed by the chest of the Lord, sometimes has to please other devotees who pray for her favor. Lakshmi Ji sometimes has to go to satisfy her numerous devotees, but Tulsi leaves never forsake their position. And the Lord therefore appreciates the service of Tulsi more than the service of Lakshmi." Now it's interesting that Srila Prabhupada was so grateful to Govinda Dasi for essentially inaugurating the worship of Tulsi in the West, that he mentions her in one of his immortal purports in Srimad Bhagavatam. It's Canto 4, Chapter 8, Text 55. The verse reads, "One should worship the Lord by offering pure water, pure flower garlands, fruits, flowers, and vegetables which are available in the forest, or by collecting newly grown grasses, small buds of flowers, or even the skins of trees, and if possible, by offering Tulsi leaves, which are very dear to the Supreme Personality of Godhead." Now in the purport, in Prabhupada's purport, he writes, "It is specifically mentioned herein that Tulsi leaves are very dear to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and devotees should take particular care to have Tulsi leaves in every temple and center of worship." The direct instruction. Devotees should take particular care to have Tulsi leaves in every temple and center of worship. And he goes on, "In the Western countries, while engaged in propagating the Krishna conscious movement, we were brought to great unhappiness because we could not find Tulsi leaves. We are very much obliged, therefore, to our disciple, Srimati Govinda Dasi, because she has taken much care to grow Tulsi plants from seeds, and she has been successful by the grace of Krishna. Now Tulsi plants are growing in almost every center of our movement." Wow. It's important to note here that all our previous acharyas, also assigned a great importance to Tulsi Devi, including Srila Prabhupada's own spiritual master, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, wrote, Srimati Tulsi Maharani is our spiritual master. She's the queen of Sri Vrindavan Dham. It is only by her mercy that one can become qualified to enter into Sri Vrindavan Dham. We wear Tulsi Maharani around our neck. We chant on Tulsi beads, knowing that she is very dear to Lord Krishna. By our allegiance to her, we chant the names of Lord Hari. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. So now let's go a little deeper into who this much glorified transcendental personality, Tulsi Devi, is, and just why she has endeared herself to so many exalted souls in this world. So to begin with, Tulsi Devi is actually an expansion of Vrinda Devi in Goloka Vrindavan. And as many of you know, Vrinda Devi's a very exalted, very beautiful gopi. She has a golden complexion and wears a dress of blue color. She has a yellow parrot named Daksha, who has 300,000 parrot disciples who help him. They fly all around Vrindavan carrying messages between Radha and Krishna, and amongst the many thousands of different gopis. And Vrinda Devi works under the guidance or the direction of Purnamasi, who's actually her guru. And Purnamasi's business or service is to oversee and supervise all the pastimes that happen in Vrindavan. And Vrinda Devi helps her in many intimate ways. We've discussed this some years ago, actually, in our classes. And the Vrindavan forest is actually named after Vrinda Devi. Vrinda Devi once performed penances for 60,000 years, and pleased by her austerities, Lord Vishnu granted a boon that, quote, any penances performed here in this forest as a result will quickly fructify and bear excellent results. Pleased by her austerities. Later, out of love, Vrinda Devi gave her forest to Srimati Radharani. And thus Radharani became Queen of Vrindavan. And as we've discussed many times, Vrinda Devi is one of the 5 personalities that grant eternal residence in Vrindavan. Those 5 personalities are Govardhan Hill, Yamuna River, Vrinda Devi, Gopishwara Mahadev, and Braj Renu, the very dust of Vrindavan. And because she's part of that illustrious 5, Vrindavan Das Thakur wrote in his prayers to Vrinda Devi, by your mercy people attain residence in Vrindavan, the desire to serve your master's lotus feet, and the desire to assist in the rasa dance. O Vrinda, I bow down to your lotus feet. So Vrinda Devi, by dint of her compassionate nature, appears in this world as the Tulsi plant. But by no means should anyone consider her to be an ordinary plant. In text 3 of the Tulsi Upanishad, yes, there's an Upanishad called the Tulsi Upanishad. It is written, Avriksha vriksha rupashi vrik sattvam me vinasaya tulas yatula rupashi tula koti nibe jare. O Srimati Tulsi Devi, you are ever young. Your form is unequaled and resembles 10 million piles of gold. You have both tree and non-tree forms. Please destroy my tree-like ignorance. What a prayer. And in the Hari Bhakti Vilas 9.174, it says, O exalted Brahmana, one who simply utters the word Tulsi 3 times a day achieves the benefit of giving 1,000 cows in charity every day. I did a lot of research. And in the Hari Bhakti Vilas 9176, it says, Shruta Bilasita Drishta Ropita Sinchita Nata Tulasi Dahate Pabam Yugan Tagnir Ivak Hilam. Just as everything is burnt to ashes by fire at the time of annihilation, all of one's sinful reactions are burnt to ashes simply by hearing the glories of Tulsi Devi, as well as by seeing her, planting her, watering her, and offering obeisances to her, as we heard earlier in the lecture. Now, there's so many verses actually. But now, just how Vrinda Devi came as Tulsi to this material world, it's very interesting. Like many pastimes, there's different, slightly different versions or variations. The Tulsi Stava from the Padma Purana, 161.33, mentions Tulsi Devi's origins in this world as coming from the churning of the milk ocean. Prashida Devi Devasi, Prashida Hari Bhalabe, Shirodar Mata Nat Bhute, Tulasi Tvam Namam Yaham. O Goddess, O controller of the demigods, please be kind to me. O beloved of Lord Hari, please be merciful to me. O Srimati Tulsi Devi, who appeared during the churning of the milk ocean, I offer my obeisances unto you. And the Tulsi Upanishad verse 1 says the same. Amrite mrita rupasi amritava padadyani tvam nam udhara samshrat shira shagara kanyake. Almost identical. O Goddess, your form is eternal, and you are able to bestow immortality to others. Please lift me from the ocean of material existence, O daughter of the milk ocean. Another very popular, authorized version is in the Brahma Vaivarta Purana, Prakriti Kanda section, chapters 21 and 22, wherein it's described that Tulsi Devi descended into this world as the daughter of a king named Kusha Dwaja. Kusha Dwaja. Unfortunately, her father, Kusha Dwaja, eventually married her to an asura, this is the Leela, named Jalandhara. Jalandhara. It's written that Jalandhara took advantage of her purity and her chastity to gain strength for his nefarious activities. Somehow or other, her purity and chastity, from that he was able to gain strength for his nefarious activities. And it's described that his strength was so great that even Lord Shiva could not defeat him in battle. So seeing this, the demigods were worried because he was a big asura, so the demigods went to Lord Vishnu for help. And to try and rectify the situation, Lord Vishnu went to see Tulsi Devi while assuming the form of her husband, Jalandhara. And when Tulsi Devi greeted him, thinking him to be her husband, she acted very kindly, very lovingly towards him. And because she acted kindly to a man, other than her husband, the purity of her chastity was momentarily broken. And thus Jalandhara lost his strength. Just for a moment, because unknowingly she associated with a man, so she lost the purity. So her husband lost his strength. So taking advantage of this, the demigods came and immediately killed Jalandhara. And when Tulsi Devi understood what had happened, because Lord Vishnu then revealed his original form to her, she was angry that she had been deceived. And she cursed Lord Vishnu that for his, it's described, stone-hearted behavior, he would become a stone. Shastra says that honoring his pure devotee, Lord Vishnu accepted this curse and promised to appear as the Shalagram Shila in the Kali Gandaki River in Nepal. And he also gave Tulsi Devi the following 2 benedictions. My dear Tulsi, you will grow forever as a tree in Goloka, on the coast of the Viraja River, on the Rasa dance site, in the forest of Vrindavan, Bandira, Champaka, Chandana, and in the groves of Madhavi, Ketaki, Kunda, Malika, and Malati. And the second benediction, second verse. You will always live in sacred places and bestow the highest religious merit. All the holy spots will converge and reside at the root of your tree, and thus spiritual merits will occur to all. O fair one, all the demigods and I will wait there to gather your falling Tulsi leaves. You will always be the presiding deity of the Tulsi plant here on earth, and at the same time, you will always sport with Sri Krishna in solitude in Goloka. You will also be the presiding deity of the Gandaki River, and thereby shower Bharat with religious merit. You will further be the wife of the ocean of salt, which is my partial expansion. O chaste goddess, you will always remain personally by my side and enjoy my company as Lakshmi does. Whoa. Now, of course, it's a rather unusual pastime. She's cursing Vishnu. But we should understand that such pastimes involving pure devotees, because she's mentioned as a pure devotee, obviously, are for the benefit of conditioned souls in the material world, to teach us various lessons. Pure devotees humbly accept such compromised positions for our benefit, just like Krishna's eternal friend, Arjuna, who was seemingly placed into illusion so Krishna could speak the Bhagavad Gita for the benefit of all humanity for all time. In the beginning of our movement, because devotees were not much learned in Shastra, and their faith was just beginning to bud or to blossom, Srila Prabhupada hesitated to tell this particular pastime in its entirety. How do we know? Because, well, again, in her memoirs, Govinda Dasi relates that Srila Prabhupada once told the devotees in Hawaii that Tulsi Devi was a great devotee of Lord Krishna, but her husband was a demon and killed by Krishna. And then Srila Prabhupada stopped short and became thoughtful and didn't say any more. So Govinda Dasi said that her intuition was that he had given as much of that pastime as the devotees could understand at that particular time. So we've covered enough about Tulsi Devi today, and we shall continue next Friday. I think we can have 3 classes about Srimati Tulsi Devi. There's so much to be shared, and thankfully so. Let us finish with 2 beautiful quotes by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur from his Sri Sankalpa Kalpadruma, text 89 and 90. O Srimati Tulsi Devi, O celestial Ganges river of mercy, it is because I once placed my head at your lotus feet and drank some drops of water that washed your lotus feet, that these desires have arisen in my heart. O Srimati Tulsi Devi, how low I am, my heart pierced by hundreds of offenses. How exalted and difficult it is to attain my aspiration. Your causeless mercy is my only hope. It is by your mercy that I, who am so fallen, can have these desires in my thoughts. Hare Krishna. Wow. So I enjoyed researching this class and I enjoyed delivering this class. I hope that your appreciation for Srimati Tulsi Devi has increased 1,000-fold. Go back next Friday for more on Srimati Tulsi Devi. Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki, Shri Shri Krishna Balaram ki, Shri Shri Radha Shama Sundar ki, Brindavaneshwari Srimati Radharani ki, Mayapur Dham ki Gaur Nitai ki, Shri Krishna Sankirtan ki, Nitai Gaur Premanandi, Jai Jai Sisi Radhe Shyam. Glories